What's going on, everyone? So here I am with some Hondo Blue. I never thought I'd see the day, but he did perform pretty well over the previous tournament over the weekend, and a lot of you have been requesting it. So I've been playing some Hondo Blue over the past couple days just for my own interest, and I figured why not do a video on this deck describing some of its strengths and, well, playing some games. Before we do so, guys, I got two announcements. One, TCG playing in the description down below. Be sure to use it if you want to pick up any Star Wars Unlimited cards. Second thing is I have a Patreon. A lot of you have actually already joined. You might even see a little bit of scrolling names because that is something that is included. And check it out down below because we might be doing some viewer games. I'll see if I will record them. Might be fun for you all to see on the channel. But if you want to participate, be sure to check out that Patreon down below. Hondo Green. Or Hondo Blue, rather. Why are we playing Hondo? Why are we playing Hondo Blue, more specifically? And is this even going to win? Well, first off, Hondo, anytime we play a card using Smuggle, you can exhaust Hondo and give an experience token to any unit. So remember, when we play a card, it's entering the battlefield, or it's when played, right? And so let's say you were to smuggle out something like a Collection Starhopper, you can put the experience token on the Collection Starhopper, which is pretty nice. So that is a pretty nice advantage to this ability. On the flip side, he is a 6 resource flip for a 3/7 body with raid 1. And instead of having to exhaust Hondo anytime that you play a card using Smuggle to get that experience counter, you can just get that experience token regardless. You don't have to exhaust him. That way you can attack and still smuggle stuff out for some value. And so how are we actually winning? What is the goal of this deck? That describes Hondo. Sure, we're going to be playing Smuggle cards to get some advantage, right? Yes, but how do we actually leverage that? Well, we're kind of playing what I would consider a soft control deck. We have a lot of ways to remove units. We have a lot of kind of high value threats, and we have a lot of Smuggle options, including a powerful late game. So first off, let's talk about some of our early plays. I mentioned one already. We got ourselves Inferno 4, Pike Sentinel, Collection Starhopper, and Ruthless Assassin in the 2-drop slot. One of the big things is Collection Starhopper, not usually a 2-drop because you're interested in smuggling out a little bit later on in the game. Your 2-drops are mainly going to be that Inferno 4 and Pike Sentinel, ideally. And we've seen Inferno 4 setting up some draws, Pike Sentinel just being a nice card that has a Sentinel body. You could do something like Pike Sentinel turn 1 into smuggle out Collection Starhopper, put an experience token on the Pike Sentinel, which gives you a 3/4 Sentinel, which is even harder to deal with in some matchups. And then the Ruthless Assassin is kind of like a 3/1 because it comes into play, deals 2 damage to itself. In some cases, you'll deal 2 damage to something else, like a Pike Sentinel, if that's relevant or whatever, and get a 3/3. But for the most part, these are just kind of some early plays to prevent some of the early pressure. In our 3-drop slot, we got ourselves the Client as our only 3-drop. This is a really nice unit as a way to get some bounties. The bounties synergize great with like takedowns and Power of the Dark Side, allowing us to heal a bunch and actually get to that later stage of the game. Lieutenant Childson, we have a ton of blue cards, if you haven't noticed, in the deck. And so this is very frequently going to be like a 5/5 or even some cases a 6/6 on turn 3. Now, you've seen how good Childson is against something like a Sabine. It's not as good against Boba Yellow and Han Yellow as they can bounce it most of the time, but Childson against Sabine particularly, if you are in that matchup and you can get it down as soon as Sabine comes down, you can basically win the game in some cases. We got ourselves Lom Pike on the 4-drop slot as well, although Lom Pike is very frequently going to be played as a smuggle option, has a really nice on-attack trigger, giving shield tokens to enemy units while giving them to your units. And the interesting part about Lom Pike is that because of our cards such as Vigilance, such as Power of the Dark Side, and Takedown, we can mitigate some of the downside of shield tokens, but also if we just want to get a shield token on a very powerful unit because it's more valuable than theirs, we could also do that as well. In terms of our 5-drops, we got Super Commando Squad and Vigilant Pursuit Craft, both of which are Sentinels when they come down. In Super Commando Squad, anytime it's upgraded, it's going to get Sentinel. So what's really powerful about this is if we ever smuggle out a card, even though it is shielded when it comes down and they can remove that shield, if we put an experience token on it afterwards, it becomes a Sentinel again, which is really hard to deal with. Vigilant Pursuit Craft, 3/5 Sentinel, but can be smuggled out for 7, which is not something that's irregular. So keep that in mind. As our late game plays, we got our First Light, Mauls, and Snokes. First Light comes out as a smuggle option, potentially to end the game if you have a lot of damaged units, gives you some massive power boost, or just can be played as a 4/7 space unit, but usually going to be smuggled out for some extra value. Maul here, 7 resource, kills anything when it comes down for the most part, and we can transfer the damage that Maul could take over to something like a Hondo, over to something like a Long Pike, over something like a Pike Sentinel, a Collection Starhopper, a Ruthless Assassin, which is kind of nice to keep it alive. But most of the time, you're just playing this and killing something. Snoke is our last card to talk about. This kind of just wipes the board of a lot of small units. And if your opponent's playing something like Tarkin or Sabine, sometimes when you get Snoke down, it's just impossible to deal with at that point, and it kind of locks up the game, which is really, really quite nice. In terms of events and other things that we got to note, well, we got a lot of removal. We got Power of the Dark Side, kills a unit. Make It Opening, deals with TIE Phantom in those games, which is extremely relevant, and oftentimes kills some other stuff and heals us. Takedown, kills a lot of early game plays, including Sabine if she flips. Vigilance, nice little late game play. 6 resources in this deck, but allows us to heal, allows us to defeat something early, or give a shield token to something which is not irrelevant. We got Overwhelming Barrage, nice little wipe the board, works especially well with things like Child Sin, and potentially Super Commando Squad and Long Pike. Super Laser Blast later on in the game, wipes the board, just 1 copy, more on the side. And then some smuggle events as well as Top Target. So Top Target, nice little bounty, really just used for more healing. This is kind of like a better repair because you're going to be able to kill something. So it's a 1 resource, heal 4 or heal 6. Very frequently going to heal 6 because of all the unique units out. And then, as I mentioned, some smuggling events. Now, these are cards that, unlike the other cards where the smuggle is like absurdly expensive, this Covert Strength and Time Intervention are very frequently smuggled out. You could smuggle out something like, well, a Lieutenant Child Sin, and you can resolve the when played ability and then ambush. You can go ahead and timely out, like a Ruthless Assassin. But remember, when you timely out something, or you play the smuggle option, you can get that experience token, which is really, really quite nice. Because the way this works is you have to resolve the timely intervention with the unit, and then you get the Hondo Anaka trigger. So you can put that on something and then ambush with it, which is kind of nice. And then on top of all that, the Covert Strength just healing up stuff, or in some cases just giving us 2 experience tokens, because the Covert Strength gives you an experience token, and then the smuggle option gives you an experience token with Hondo. In our sideboard here, we got a bunch of stuff going on. We got ourselves kind of complete play sets or kind of additional copies of cards we have in the deck. Overwhelming Barrage, Vigilance, and Super Laser Blast are all finishing off the playset. Vigilance for any matchup that we kind of need some healing and has some relevant defeat targets, or even in the hyper control matchups, it can be pretty good. Overwhelming Barrage is a nice way to wipe the board. Super Laser Blast is actually really good in the more mid-rangey / soft control mirrors, where your opponent's playing a bunch of stuff, and then you can just Super Laser Blast it all away. Rivals Fall, Fell the Dragon, more removal, and Avengers to kind of lock up the game. So we're gonna mess around, play some games with Hondo Blue, and see what we can do. Let's dive into it. Got ourselves a spicy one to start off with. We got ourselves the initiative, and we have a pretty reasonable hand. I'm probably going to resource this Covert Strength and Long Pike. We have a nice 2-3-4 plus a Long Pike later on in the game. And heck, if we play a Pike Sentinel and it looks good, we could even Covert Strength for 2 experience tokens on our Pike Sentinel, because there's actually not that many great ways for Han ECL to actually deal with that. And in this case, we're going to claim initiative. And the question is, do I want to get rid of a Maul or a Snoke? I think that Snoke's going to be less valuable in this matchup. I'd rather have a Maul, and I'd rather keep my earlier plays. So the question is, do I want to Covert Strength or just Power of the Dark Side away something? And I think the answer is there's not many things that our opponent can do. And I don't know if we're going to play Wing Leader. I'm just going to Covert Strength on my Pike Sentinel, make it a 4/5 Sentinel. Like, that is pretty strong. And we can potentially trade with multiple of our opponent's units. Seems a little bit counterintuitive, but this also sets up for potentially a more valuable Power of the Dark Side. If I were to just play a Pike Sentinel, for example, in this stage, then they can just easily kill a Pike Sentinel and keep their Battlefield Marine around, which is a little bit unfortunate. But depending on what they play here, well, would be pretty nice for us. Here, let's just go ahead and, well, I think we just attack the base here. We could kill their K2, but right now they have no way to actually kill my unit. And so if we just sit back and hit their base for 8, then they're most likely going to have to trade into my unit. Here's a Collection Starhopper, and as I mentioned earlier, I could play this as a 2-drop, but I actually just want to resource it because I can play it using Smuggle a little bit later on. Oh, and by the way, the thing we smuggled out was a Power of the Dark Side. Long Pike can come down to 5, which is quite nice. But here, I am just going to attack their base for 4. Again, there's no reason for me to really hit the K2. They could ECL out something, but if they ECL out something on 4, the best thing they can usually hit is like a K2, and that just ends up not really doing a whole lot. Sure, you can kill my guy, but I think I'll just play a Long Pike. Just get down a Long Pike, get some value going. They can hit the Long Pike if they choose to, but now they've used 2 resources, so they kind of have an awkward amount of resources in hand. And that covert strength ended up working really, really well here. Again, a 4/5 Sentinel is just hard to deal with. Here they have a Sundari Peacekeeper. We're going to clean initiative. And they are going to, let's see. Curious what they're going to hit here. They're going to hit my base. Okay. Totally fine, totally reasonable. That is an Overwhelming Barrage, and I think I'm just going to go with Overwhelming Barrage here and kill their entire board, and then have a situation where I can give like a shield token to something and just have a big Long Pike, but I kind of just like killing off everything that I see on the board here. So kill that, and now I have a 6-powered unit, which one-shots Han. If they play it, if they play a Podameron, it kills it. If they play a Wrecker, it kills it. All of which are good situations for us, and they're going to make us discard, which I think is actually not necessarily the correct play in this spot, because with Hondo, we have so many smuggle options that making us discard is extremely irrelevant. I'm always going to have something to do with my resources unless I get a terrible draw, so I'm pretty happy about that spot. And I will just go ahead and kill Han. Just going to kill him. No real reason to stall out here. I have a Power of the Dark Side, so no matter what they play here, assuming it's 1 unit, I will be able to kill it. They could have a Wrecker here. Looks like they have a modded cohort. And like, sure, they're going to kill my Long Pike, but they have no pressure on us. We have more damage into their base than they do on ours. Drew ourselves a second Maul, which I don't even think we need. I think I'd rather keep... Actually, you know what? At this stage of the game, I don't even need the heal, so I'm going to keep the second Maul. And I mean, we are in a great spot because we've killed their leader. They have no pressure on the board. We can flip Hondo this turn. And I think that's what I'm going to start off by doing. Just flip Hondo and see what our opponent's going to do. I don't want to start off with like a Super Commando squad or anything like that. Looks like they have a Wrecker, which is fine. Sure, Wrecker's good. Like a solid card for sure. But doesn't really do a whole lot. Like that burns their ECL. We get to go ahead and play a Super Commando squad, which has Shielded and Sentinel. And remember, if we go ahead and smuggle out something next turn, we can give it an experience token, which looks really good as well. Childson, pretty weak here, but I think I'd rather have the Collection Starhopper in my resource pile anyways. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And yeah, they killed my Hondo with an ECL Wrecker, but now they have no ECL. And, well, they didn't even hit our base. And we are a way better late game deck. Yes, they could have Crate Dragons, which is something that I have to worry about, but we have Power of the Dark Side, which is kind of what I'm saving it for. And with Mauls here, we can potentially go ahead and kill off something and hit their base, and the Super Commando squad is really causing them some major trouble. Looks like they have a modded cohort here, which is totally fine, because I am just going to go ahead and kill their Wrecker with my Super Commando squad. I could smuggle out something, but not really that relevant. Now they play a unit. Awesome. Maul it. Kill their... or hit their base. They take initiative. Sure. Not really that worried about that. Drew ourselves a Ruthless Assassin in Inferno 4. I think at this spot, I'm actually just going to resource the Ruthless Assassin. And if they have a Power of the Dark Side, they could Power the Dark Side, but actually... or if they have a Crate Dragon, rather, they could Crate Dragon. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit their base for 7. And if they hit my Crate... or my Maul, which they will have to next turn... after they take initiative, then we are in a great spot. Here, I'm going to hit their base for 7. And now they have to hit my Maul. Otherwise, they're just dead. And I mean, now I can follow up with a Lieutenant Childson, reveal 2 cards, make it a 4/4. I have a Power of the Dark Side in my back pocket. I'll smuggle out a Collection Starhopper, give it to the Starhopper, the experience token rather, to the Starhopper. And we're going to pass. What do we get in our resource pile after I resource that or smuggled out? A Snoke. The reason I went with the experience token over on the Starhopper is because if they play a Wrecker, the 5th experience token is not really going to be relevant for Childson because it's going to die anyways. And I mean, this game's a pretty easy W. Our opponent looks to be playing a little bit more of an aggressive version of Han Green. And I think that's a little bit weaker than the more mid-range style, especially against this deck in particular. So we just have so many answers, and we kind of just wrecked our opponent. Like, it wasn't even close. We have always had more damage on their base than they did on ours, and that's because of the turn 1 Pike Sentinel into Covert Strength. And I mean, that's the power of Hondo, is just getting random experience tokens all over the place. Let's go ahead and attack in for 3 here, and if they do nothing, then we just deploy a Maul and we kill them. And I'm very happy I went with this plan, but it doesn't really matter. Like, sure, you do your thing, we play a Maul, game's over. Ambush, kill them, GG. And our opponent, did a lot of stuff, but it was not close at all. Like, Hondo Blue completely dominated that game. Let's move on to the next match. Into our next matchup, we're against a yellow Tarkin. So the cards I'm really hoping for are like Inferno 4s, making openings, because if they do get a massively sized TIE Phantom, it's going to be pretty difficult for us to deal with. And this hand is pretty weak against that, to be honest. So I think I'm going to mulligan this. Drew ourselves triple Power of the Dark Side and a make an opening. So actually a pretty good hand. I think in this spot, however, I'm going to resource one of the Power of the Dark Sides and the Long Pike so that I can at least have a turn 1 play. And this Ruthless Assassin, by no means is it going to be an amazing turn 1 play, but at least it will potentially trade with various things. There is a chance that I could have just resourced the Ruthless Assassin, kept triple Power of the Dark Side, but I feel like that leaves us a little bit linear. Although, on the other hand, one thing to remember is they have ISB Agent in their deck. So this could just die to an ISB Agent, which is something that I have to consider. Collection Starhopper goes into the resource pile. Pretty straightforward. I can smuggle it out, make it a 3/3, which looks excellent here. They're going to attack our base. Oh, that's a little bit surprising. Okay, in that case, I'm just going to smuggle out a Collection Starhopper and make a 3/3. And what do we get? We got a Time Intervention. Okay, awesome. Let's claim initiative. They played a 7th Fleet Defender, which is awesome, since we can just go ahead and Power of the Dark Side that away. We got ourselves a Time Intervention and a Covert Strength here, which both look quite solid. And we will see what our opponent does. Get rid of that Imperial unit, just in case they have something like a TIE Advanced. Let's go ahead and attack in for 3. They're almost certainly going to put a shield to or experience token on their Phase 3 Dark Trooper. And so we will just claim initiative. Super Commando Squad looks reasonable. I'm going to go ahead and resource this Time Intervention for another smuggle option. But I kind of like just going ahead and dropping in a Super Commando Squad for that Sentinel. They could do some things where they attack it with Tarkin first, and then give an experience token to the Phase 3 Dark Trooper, and then attack it again to trade with it, or to kill it, which is something that they could do. But that's a lot of like actions to deal with this, and we could always follow up with various stuff of our own. It looks like they're just going to hit straight into it, which is actually kind of what we wanted to see. The only way this goes really poorly is if our opponent has TIE Phantom and something potentially else on top of it. Like, I'm trying to think of what they could have. TIE Phantom plus like a 2-drop, which could be, well, more like 1-drop, like a TIE Fighter or something, giving some experience tokens. I'm not sure. Not sure if that was a good attack. Oh, it looks like our opponent said, I can't read. And they conceded. Okay. So I think what our opponent should have done, if they were going to do that, or were going to just attack, they should have flipped Tarkin, attack my Super Commando Squad, get an experience token, and then attack my base, or attack the Super Commando Squad again. That would have been a much better option in general. But if they do that, then we can use our Super Commando Squad to actually just straight up kill their Tarkin next turn, which is pretty nice. And we are a pretty good spot overall in this game, especially with the Covert Strength, which could have healed up the Super Commando Squad and gave it an experience token, which would have put it in a situation where it had Sentinel again. And it would have been a 6/6, which actually outsizes the Phase 3 Dark Trooper. So lots of different options there. On to the next one. Into our next matchup, and we're going to resource this Overwhelming Barrage and the Make an Opening here. Might be surprising for you to see that, but I want to get down a massive Child Sin, as that's one way to stop some of these earlier plays from our opponent. And, well, that's a Client, which I'll put on top, and an Inferno 4, which I'll put on bottom. But one of the things that was really good against this Han Green version is something like that, where we can get some massive value out of the Client, because they don't usually play like a bunch of waylays or anything like that. Let's go ahead and play a Client first off. And we can always put a bounty on the Battlefield Marine or whatnot, whatever we want to really realistically do. And I'm keeping the Long Pike in hand just as another blue card. I could have resourced not the Pike Sentinel and the Long Pike to keep blue card in hand, but I think it's actually just more relevant to have that Long Pike in hand, because Pike Sentinel is not really that great. And they're going to, well, they have spare the target. So I suppose that is something that they could do. We're going to go and resource one of these Long Pikes, and we're just going to drop a big old Childson. And now they don't have a spare the target, presumably. And we're just going to make a 6/6. And if they have another spare the target, then they've done kind of nothing for 2 turns in a row. And we can just redeploy Childson, right? Like having a 6/6 Childson is really, really nice. They're going to go and put a Bright Hope down, and let's see if they bounce a unit to their hand. If they do, I probably will just power the Dark Side next turn. If they don't, then, well, we'll have to do something else to deal with this Battlefield Marine. Let's go ahead and claim initiative and see what our opponent decides to do. They are not going to go ahead and kill my Childson, which is totally fair. We're going to go ahead and probably just kill their Battlefield Marine. Do I care about the Battlefield Marine, or do I want to hit their base? I think I want to hit the Battlefield Marine because there could be a situation where Han does something crazy this turn. And it might be a little bit awkward, like, why did you do that? Like, why did you go ahead and kill their Battlefield Marine? Like, can't they just go ahead and do something weird with Han? And yes, that they can absolutely do that, but they would have to trade into this Lieutenant Childson. Let's go to make it a 7/7 with the Long Pike Smuggle. Let's claim initiative. If they want to attack into the Lieutenant Childson and essentially trade 2 cards for it and get a 7 drop down, I am okay with that, as we also happen to have the Long Pike. Looks like they're going to get a Han Solo down, kill my Long Pike, which is totally reasonable. And now we get ourselves, well, a few different options. Question is, what do I want to do here? I think I want to get down a client in this stage of the game. So I think I'm just going to go... Let's see, what do I want to do here, actually? I could flip Hondo. And if I flip Hondo, that doesn't really do a whole lot. Kind of curious about what I want to do here. So I can't make a big enough Childson to avoid the Han Solo. I think I just want to go power the Dark Side to start off, and then just play out a client, and then see what I want to do with Hondo afterwards. If they want to defeat their Han Solo, that's fine. But should be okay for us. Let's go ahead and play a Hondo. And let's see what our opponent's got. They could have another 7 drop. They did do their Han Solo 7s sort of turn. Let's get down a client here. I could have attacked with an Inferno 4 installed, but the only play I have is the client realistically. So let's just go ahead and get down the client. They're going to go ahead and kill off the, what's it called? The Hondo, which is totally reasonable. Here, I think I would like to just go ahead and get down a Maul. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I can give a bounty to this Fennec Shand, but she could just kill the client and live. So I think I just want to ambush, kill Fennec. And if they want to kill Maul, that's okay. Next turn, we could always play a Snoke, which would look pretty nice. I think I will attack into the Echo base here. If they want to kill the client, that's also fine. We're going to claim initiative. And now we have a Snoke to deploy, which kills off the Echo base defender. We also have a make an opening, which could combo with client and Snoke to kill the Han Solo if we want to. Another Childson could potentially be good. I think I'm going to resource this client here. I'm just going to drop a Snoke. Make everything smaller. Looks pretty nice for us. Kills off the Echo base defender. They could have another home 1 or a 7 drop. They did go 7 into 7, which is pretty nice for our opponent, but then they had a kind of weak follow-up. And now we're at the stage of the game where we are, as I said, a soft control deck, so we're getting to our massive plays, and Han Solo does have some big plays later on in the game, but it really isn't quite as powerful as what we got going on usually. Okay, so they have a double Han, which is totally fine. Let's go ahead and just claim initiative. And that's a timely intervention, which probably can go into the resource pile. So I can Maul kill their Han Solo. I can Overwhelming Barrage plus make an opening. I think I want to start off by making opening the Han Solo just to shrink it so that it can't kill the client. They're gonna traitorous, huh? Okay. I don't think traitorous is particularly amazing. Let's just go ahead and kill Han here. Traitorous, sure, steal the client. They can give bounties to stuff, but it's if they are trying to heal up, we are definitely winning the game by like a large margin. We're going to claim initiative, not even bother attacking. I want to make sure that I have access to a lot of different options here. This Child Sin's looking pretty weak. I'm just going to go ahead and go for a Maul plus a Collection Starhopper. So let's go Maul, ambush, kill the client. Haven't used a bounty because I didn't need to. Haven't needed to put a bounty on anything. Probably should have resourced this Child Sin over the Ruthless Assassin because I think the Child Sin's not going to be all that relevant because most of our cards are going to come from our resource pile. And remember, we don't actually have to smuggle anything out or play anything out with Time Intervention. We can always just play this for an experience token for 2 resources, which is pretty nice. I missed out on, like, let's say, I think 6 or 8 damage with this Inferno 4. And, well, there is another point, a couple points of damage here. Let's just go ahead and... I think I want to just attack in just to see what I'm going to draw. Ooh, I like both of those, actually. Yeah, let's go ahead and keep both of those on top. And the reason why is I put the first light, or they spare the target. Okay, so I put the first light on top because what's going to happen here is I'm going to smuggle it into my resource pile, which is pretty sweet. And drew ourselves a Time Intervention, which I can go ahead and resource. And I mean, spare the target on a Maul is really quite weak. Looks like they have themselves another traitorous. Not particularly scared of that. Let's go ahead and put a top target on the Bright Hope, which is going to allow us to heal 6. Let's claim initiative. They have a Millennium Falcon. Sure, they're going to get in some damage, but we're going to Overwhelming Barrage next turn. That's another top target resource, one of these Child Sins. So they had double spare the target, double Han. They had double Bright Hope. They've had a lot of kind of powerful stuff. They had the Fennec, but we're just kind of like getting through the game slowly and slowly. We're going to Overwhelming Barrage and deal 4, 3, 2. Or 4, 3, and then kill the Millennium Falcon. So let's see, 4, 3. So we do 3, 4. And that's going to allow us to heal a bunch because of the top target. Opponent's going to hit us for 3. I'm actually going to hit their base for 7 here. I think that we are advantaged at this point. And remember, they know that we have a Maul. And I could choose the first light to take the damage here, so it's going to make it even bigger. And they have a Kira, but playing Kira here is a little bit weak since we are in a spot where we have a Maul, we have a first light, and we have a bunch of damage on our base. So it's going to be pretty sweet. They're going to name Maul, which means Maul now costs 10, which is still playable. Like, we can still just straight up play a Maul. And we have a million things in our resource pile that we could smuggle out. So really not all that scared. And a first light kills them anyways. So game is pretty much over. And again, if we get into this like grindy matchup with our opponent, then we almost always win. And Han Green, what they need to have is like a powerful U-Wing reinforcements or a powerful like Home 1 to end the game quickly without us kind of responding. And I mean, if they go Han Solo, kind of try to control the board, same with Fennec, like play a couple of traitorous and steal our clients and our collection Starhoppers, like those are very weak plays because we are the ones that want to get to the late game. And so stealing these like mediocre plays for 5 resources is actually pretty nice for us in terms of how the game's played out. So pretty cool. And on to the next one. Into our next matchup against Double Yellow Han. A few things about this matchup. We need to be aware of the Tech DJ, similar to the last matchup, but in this one more particularly because a lot of times people are playing the full 6 of each card, or 3 of each card into 6 copies. And we also don't care to have events in our hand all that much because of the turn 2 or turn 1 Bodhi, which is pretty sad for us. So even though it is kind of sad to resource a Covert Strength and a Vigilance, I think I just want to go with a Collection Starhopper turn 1 because of the potential for a Bodhi Rook on turn 1, especially since they know I'm playing Hondo Blue, so they probably expect me to have events. Looks like they have an Ezra, which is probably the second worst card I would want to see in this spot, normally speaking. Drew ourselves a Client, which is pretty good. Not insane by any means, but it can do some work to help us heal up. The real kind of game changer here for our opponent would be to potentially hit something off this Ezra and be able to play it so they get to save an action. 1, and 2, get some extra card advantage going to keep the cards in their hand for the Han action, which is going to be pretty important for them. They're going to attack our base. Let's see if they have gotten something off the top. They did not. Okay, let's go ahead and attack for 2 then. Let's see if they have a 4-drop or just a 3-drop. They have a Spark of Rebellion. They're going to take the Long Pike almost assuredly. I'd be very surprised if they did not take the Long Pike. Especially in this matchup where, like, you're kind of relying on the tempo advantage. But seeing a Spark Rebellion on this turn is a lot weaker than what you're hoping for. Collection Starhopper looks pretty reasonable here. Don't mind that card at all. I could smuggle that out or smuggle a Covert Strength. I think what I want to do actually is smuggle out a Covert Strength on the client to make it a big client. And if they have like a Waylay, for example, to protect their Ezra or a Cunning, that's okay with me because of, you know, kind of what our hand looks like right now. And they're going to bounce it. They're going to pump. Let's go ahead and put a top target on Ezra. So they kind of had the perfect answer in that spot. But we're going to take initiative here, and we're going to hope for something like a Power of the Dark Side. We're going to hope for like a takedown. There are so many different things that we could have on this following turn. Lieutenant Childson is not necessarily one of them. But it is something I will be playing out here because it is going to be a 4/4. So this forces them to attack it with Han, which could potentially put it in range of make an opening. We're really looking for at this stage, we wanted to see one of our Power of the Dark Sides. We wanted to see one of like takedowns or something like that. Instead, when we did go ahead and smuggle out this the Covert Strength, we got ourselves a Power of the Dark Side in the resource pile, which is a little bit unfortunate. They're going to play a tech. Okay. Looks like they're not going to go with the Han Solo 7 turn. They could still use one of their cards in hand to put a resource down and go that direction. They're going to claim initiative, huh? Okay. I wonder if they're trying to set up for a resource steal here. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think that's actually all that strong for them. Yeah, so they took a resource for with DJ. But remember, we get to smuggle out this Collection Starhopper, put an experience token on Childson, then just kill DJ. Which gives us the resource back. Boom. And that allows us to play Make an Opening, which will end up killing off the Han Solo. So pretty nice situation for us because we get to go ahead and kill off Ezra here, heal, make an opening, the Han Solo, heal more. And yeah, they have the tech, but it's like, sure, what are you going to do with the tech here? That ended up doing amazingly for us. Let's go ahead and just hit their base for 2 here. Don't really care all that much about this Millennium Falcon, especially with the fact that we are going to follow this up with a Maul, which is going to be awesome. I mean, you can kind of just look at what happened there. This is just an amazing sequence where our opponent tunneled on the DJ tech combo. And if you're in a situation where you can just kill it, then you can just kill it and it doesn't do anything. Maybe that was their only option, but that was really nice for us to see, for sure. So 2 damage. I think I'd just rather have Maul take it. Doesn't seem like a big deal to me. Keep Hondo reasonably healthy. And I mean, They knew we had a Maul in hand. They have a Millennium Falcon. Sure. We're going to go ahead and attack in for 4. See if they kill my Collection Starhopper. They do not. Let's go ahead and claim initiative. We have a time intervention. We could draw a lot of different things. We drew a takedown. Takedown looks pretty decent here. I think I want to go ahead and go takedown and then smuggle out this Collection Starhopper. I'm actually going to take down, might seem a little bit counterintuitive, but I'm going to take down the Millennium Falcon small version because we can smuggle out the Collection Starhopper, put an experience on our other Collection Starhopper. Now, you might be thinking like, oh, well, isn't that only working if our opponent doesn't kill it? Well, 1, if they kill it, I'm totally fine with that. 2, our opponent's the aggro deck, so killing my Collection Starhopper is usually not a good thing for them to be doing. Let's just go ahead and hit their base for 4 here. Let's go out and smuggle out I could smuggle out the Pike Sentinel, but I'm just going to smuggle out Collection Starhopper, put an experience on our other Collection Starhopper. And we're going to be able to kill their Millennium Falcon. And they played a Bodhi, and we don't have any resources in hand. So pretty straightforward for us. We're going to claim initiative, and then we can maul them again. Bouncing a maul is always spooky. And I mean, we are kind of just annihilating our opponent yet again. It has just been really, really solid all the way through. That's a child sin. I think I'm going to get rid of one of these clients, and we're just going to maul them. Maul them, play a Pike Sentinel potentially. I can also timely intervention out a maul, which seems a little bit odd, but I think I will do that. Because I can give the Hondo an experience token and end up killing off the Bodhi and then make no one take the damage. But this allows me to have the 5th point of power to kill the Cantina Bouncer. Oh, they're just going to put a jetpack on. Okay, that's fine. Because we're going to hit them for 5. And if they want to hit them all, then we're just going to claim initiative. And if they have nothing, then we just hit them for another 5. And that's going to be game. Yep, our opponent's put into the I need to wipe the board situation, and that's always a terrible situation for Han Yellow to be in. And we kind of just walked over our opponent. Again, they had like, it doesn't matter what we resource. They had the turn 1 Ezra, which is a really powerful start, into, well, a little bit of a weaker start in turn 2 Sparker Rebellion, into Cunning, which is a nice little comeback for them. But then that's when things started getting a little bit weaker for them because they try to go with the Tech DJ combo, and if you can't solidify the Tech DJ combo, which is really important, either early on in the game or where your opponent doesn't have any resources, then Tech DJ just dies. And you saw that turn, it completely ruined them because we got to kill Ezra, we got to kill DJ, and we got to kill Han, all in the same turn. And that was their turn. Like, they spent 5 resources on a DJ, which put them super behind on tempo, and we didn't even lose a resource. So, on to the next one. Next one up, we got ourselves a matchup against Bo-Katan Blue, which is going to be a fun one. Usually not, like, hyper aggressive, has some upgrades to it and things like that. But it is a little bit more of a mid-range deck. This hand's kind of weak. Has a Power of the Dark Side, has a Collection Starhopper, though. I think we could do a little bit better than this. This one, Inferno 4, Power of the Dark Side, Child Sin, Long Pike, all very, very solid. Gonna go ahead and resource that Covert Strength and the Long Pike, since those can be resourced out a little bit later on. And we're gonna start off with an Inferno 4, probably get a big Child Sin down as well, which is gonna be awesome. This is a much better one. Inferno 4, after they play Katsuonyo, we're going to go bottom Snoke. Do I want to top make an opening? I think so, because it's going to be better than Power of the Dark Side used here. All right. Let's go ahead and resource probably the Super Laser Blast. Maybe the Vigilance, actually. We're not really under that much pressure, I don't think, in this matchup. They're going to go ahead and get some experience on their Katsuonyo. They're going to attack for 4. We're going to make an opening the Clan Ren Rescuer. Now, what's interesting about Childson here is Childson is not going to be able to keep its experience on him because Ketsuonyo can just bypass it. So that's something to consider. But this is actually a really nice situation because we, instead of having to power the dark side, can just take down the Ketsu. And then we power the dark side, whatever the 4-drop is, which might not be able to be takedowned. Childson, well, kind of looking a little bit more sad as we get further on in the game. Mandalorian armor on their Sabine seems reasonable to me. We're going to go ahead and power the dark side that away. I think I'm just going to put another Long Pike into the resource pile. Power the dark side, kill their Sabine. Make sure they can't attack with anything. We're going to claim initiative so they can't do anything with their clan challengers, ideally. Starhopper and a timely intervention. Not exactly what we're looking for. What do I want to do here? So I can Long Pike, but they can just kill it with the clan challengers. I can Vigilance. I think I'm just going to attack with their Inferno 4 to start off with. Super Laser Blast might be the way that we go in this direction. They're going to Clan Ren Rescuer, huh? All right. In that case, I think what we want to do is... Do I want a Long Pike? I think I do want a Long Pike. And I'll give an experience token to the Long Pike. So now if they kill Long Pike... what did we put in the Smuggle Pie, by the way? A Maul. Okay. Now if they kill the Long Pike, I'm fine with that. Because I think we're going to play around this Super Laser Blast. I'm kind of using this as bait for our opponent. But they're not taking the bait. That's okay. You can deal 1, flip Bo-Katan. They could deal 6 at this point. Oh, they have a Jedi lightsaber. Wow. Okay. They're going to hit us for 7. And they're going to kill that. Okay. Let's go bottom. Bottom. And that's an Overwhelming Barrage. Interesting. Interesting. So I can Vigilance, kill the Rescuer. I think I just want an Overwhelming Barrage here. Yeah, let's just Overwhelming Barrage and kill the clan challengers straight up. They could potentially have enough damage to deal some massive damage to us if they have enough upgrades. That was a big hit, right? They hit us for 14 in that turn. Jeez. Hit the clan rescuers. I'll go ahead and hit Bo-Katan for 7. And I'm doing it this way because this allows me to have an option. I can either Vigilance or I can Super Laser Blast. If they have, another unit like they do here, I can Super Laser Blast next turn. Looks like they're going to Covert Strength from their resource pile to heal up, which is totally fine. Keep that Power of the Dark Side. That looks pretty good. Go to resource this time intervention. And we're just going to Super Laser Blast pretty simply. Nice little setup there for the Super Laser Blast. We have a follow-up of a Sentinel or another Sentinel or Power of the Dark Side or Vigilance. We have a lot of options here. Opponent's thinking about what to resource. I don't mind the Covert Strength. They did return the Mandalorian Armor, just so we all remember. Mandalorian Armor is back in their hand. They're going to resource something. We're going to Super Laser Blast, kill everything. Let's see what unit they play afterwards. They get a Ketsuonyo down, so we're going to flip Hondo. They're going to put a Mandalorian Armor on the Ketsu. And then we're going to take initiative. We're going to power the dark side away. And then we can follow that up with a Vigilance. Pretty straightforward here. If they have another 4-drop, then that could potentially be unfortunate. Which they do. Ooh, Takedown was a very good draw. So let's go ahead and resource probably the client here. I think I just take down the Ketsuonyo. So take down. They can attack here. We're going to kill their house cast soldier. They're going to deal damage. We're going to pass. No need to do anything too ambitious. They don't have any damage that can reach usually in this deck. They play a clan challengers. We play a Power of the Dark Side. And let's see if they take initiative. They're going to claim initiative. Okay, so now we are in a spot where I'm feeling pretty confident about the game. And we have a lot of things in our resource pile that we can leverage. We got ourselves the Hondo on board, which we're going to kind of use to control the board. They have a Razor Crest here. Razor Crest is pretty good. No doubt, no doubt. They're going to get a Jedi lightsaber back. Okay. Seems reasonable to me. We are going to, I think, heal and shield. And then I think I'm going to play a Collection Starhopper and give an experience token over to the Collection Starhopper. So we went through a Power of the Dark Side, 2 of them, I think, and 2 takedowns, and our Super Laser Blast. So we're running out of ways to kind of deal with space units. But they don't have very many upgrades to upgrade a Razor Crest, and that's kind of like the only space unit that they have. They're going to attack. Sure, we're going to smuggle out a Covert Strength. And then give an experience token to the Collection Starhopper. Heal up Hondo and go ahead and give it another experience token. So now it's got 5 power. They have a Jedi lightsaber, remember, so we have to kill the Protector of the Throne first so that they cannot upgrade it. We also have... what do I want to do here? I think what I want to do is actually timely intervention out a Super Commando squad. Give an experience token, shield it up. And then now this is a 5/5 Sentinel, and it's killed their unit here. And they can't put a Jedi lightsaber on it. We know they have Jedi lightsaber in hand if they chose not to resource, which they chose not to resource. So they don't have any real way to kind of get something down that they can upgrade. And now we're starting to close out the game, which is going to be pretty nice. They're on 8 resources. We're on 12, but we have like a million plays. And they have yet another Razor Crest. Cool. Another Razor Crest. That's pretty sweet for them. We're going to go Covert Strength, heal up the Collection Starhopper, and then give an experience token over to the Super Commando squad. This is going to allow us to kill the Razor Crest without losing our Collection Starhopper. And I mean, now the game is kind of over for our opponent. I kill the Ketsuonyo once again, so they don't have like a Mandalorian armor to deal with it. And then we have... Oh, they did the Bo-Katan action. So I would like to smuggle out the Collection Starhoppers, just give a bunch of experience tokens down. But our opponent's trying to decide what they want to do. Come on, opponent, let's see. Okay, they're going to use Bo-Katan's act. I don't know what they're doing. Okay, they're claiming initiative. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and go Collection Starhopper. Give the Hondo an experience token. We're going to go Lom Pike. Give the Super Commando another experience. We're going to hit them hit their Razor Crest and hit them for 7, and then we're going to pass. And we ended up getting a Childson and a top target. We're going to resource probably the Ruthless Assassin, and this game should be over at this point. We have enough damage on board to just kill them, and that's going to be game. Okay, so GG. Nice grindy matchup, just trying to prevent our opponent from having anything on board to upgrade a bunch and kill us. They almost got us with the Clan Challengers into Bo-Katan massively upgraded, but the Super Laser Blast leveled the playing field, and we were able to kind of drive it home. On to the next. Into the next game against a Ray Green deck. No early plays, kind of like a weak overall hand. Not even a 3 resource play that I'm excited about. Let's go ahead and mulligan that one. Not a terrible one. We got ourselves probably the Vigilant Pursuit craft resourced and probably the Snoke. Even though we want to keep as many blue cards in hand for Childson, we're not going to have a turn 1 play, which means that we're going to have base 1 additional card in our hands. We're just going to claim initiative. Now, this matchup against Ray Green, I'm usually pretty fine with this matchup simply because the Ray Red deck usually attacks your hand. And this deck kind of playing these value units and ramping a little bit is a lot weaker against us for the most part. Unfortunately, we drew a bunch of green cards, so we can't even make a 5/5 Childson. The question is, do I want to play 6/6 Child Sin. I will play a 5/5 Child Sin though. Like we literally drew Timely, Collection Star Hopper plus another Timely, which is pretty unlucky. They're going to play a Fell the Dragon. We're going to claim initiative. And if they are going to play this grindy matchup, then we are very well suited for that. Unfortunately, we're drawing kind of awkward. We're just going to pass here and see what our opponent's got. Now, we can't actually kill Ray, but we do have Super Laser Blast. And they're going to play a Yoda. They might have Force Throw here. I am just going to take down it. There's not many units that can be takedown at this point. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. We're going to claim initiative afterwards. They have a Ray flip. And they're going to flip Ray, give it an experience token to probably herself. And then, to Sundari Peacekeeper. Sure thing. Let's go ahead and get rid of these. Actually, there's just the Covert Strength. There's no reason to keep that in hand. I'm going to go ahead and play a top target on Ray. And then play another top target on Obi-Wan. And I am just going to prevent some damage with Make an Opening. We have Super Laser Blast here. So just remember that. We can just play around our Super Laser Blast. Overwhelming Barrage looks kind of whatever here. I'm just going to resource one of them. I'm just going to play a Pike Sentinel so that we can soak up some damage. Again, all we're trying to do is soak up some damage here. And then we're just going to claim initiative here. And they have a decent board state, but we're going to Super Laser Blast. So it's not really going to be that big of a deal. Super Commando Squad, Childson's going to be pretty weak here. And we're just going to Super Laser Blast, kill everything. They don't even get to draw a card. They're going to play a Home 1. And they're probably going to get back Sundari Peacekeeper is what I'd guess. And, they're going to get back a Yoda. We're going to claim initiative here. And then there's a First Light that can go into the resource pile. And we're just going to drop a Snoke. Yeah, we're going to drop a Snoke here. If they have a Fell the Dragon Part 2, that's going to be pretty good for them. If they don't, then we're in a pretty good spot. They're going to draw a card. We're going to flip Hondo. They have a Luke. Sure thing. Let's go ahead and... what do we want to do here? I think what we want to do is actually just hit Luke. So them playing Luke is pretty nice. We're going to claim initiative here. And that's a Maul. Very nice. We can have that kill Luke. Do we want to have that kill Luke? What do we want to do here? I can play Overwhelming Barrage plus Super Commando Squad. I could timely out a Super Commando Squad and then play Power the Dark Side, which looks pretty good. I think I'd rather keep one Overwhelming Barrage and one Maul versus two Mauls. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go Time Intervention, Super Commando Squad, give the Super Commando Squad experience, kill the Luke, and if they have another Luke, then that's fine. But there's also a chance they just attack with Home 1 here. They have a takedown. They're going to take down Hondo. We're going to power the Dark Side. And they have a lot of cards in hand between the Yoda drawing a bunch and all this nonsense happening. But we also have a lot of cards in hand because of our smuggle. So we have to remember that. Let's just go ahead and start off by attacking for 5 and seeing what our opponent wants to do. Now, I could have First Lighted, which would have been reasonable. They're going to Redemption up a bunch of HP, huh? Okay. I think what I want to do is smuggle out a Vigilant Pursuit Craft. And then let's play an Inferno 4, bottom. And we're going to claim initiative. And then we have a Maul. So we can Overwhelming Barrage on the Super Commando Squad, killing the Redemption. And then, do I want to hit the Concord Dawn Interceptors? I think I do. So we hit Redemption for 4 and Concord Dawn Interceptors for 3. That's a Marauder. Marauder doesn't actually kill the Vigilant Pursuit Craft. And we're starting to outpace our opponent here. We're going to maul them. Kill the Yoda. They have Ewing reinforcements. I mean, these are all good cards. Like, they're doing a lot, but it's not quite enough. Not quite enough. I wonder if I should just claim initiative here, because we can actually kill this. I think I want to claim initiative. I think that's pretty good for us. The client, make an opening. Pretty weak. Make an opening. What do I want to do here? I could timely out a Lom Pike. I could first light. First light seems pretty good here. I could first light, give an experience token to... Yeah, let's go first light. And I'm going to give an experience token to the first light. And then deal 4 to the Super Commando Squad so that it actually trades with Luke at this point. And we still have like Collection Star Hopper, timely out. Oh, I forgot that they had the I forgot that they had the ECL, but it doesn't matter because we get to maul and then attack Luke and then have the first light take the damage. They're gonna Rivals Fall. Seems okay to me. We're just gonna go ahead and kill their Marauder. We're gonna top bottom. Takedown, sure thing. Let's go ahead and play a Collection Star Hopper. And a client. So our opponent's, playing the control game pretty nicely. We might be in a situation where we're going to be looking for vigilances at this point. We saw one, but we didn't actually use it. Or we didn't keep it on top, rather. But our opponent has used 2 Lukes, a Redemption, a Home 1, and a Ewing Reinforcements. Ooh, that's a little bit scary. All right, so we're going to go Timely Intervention. Give the client an experience token. And I'm going to go ahead and put a Lom Pike. Resolve the ambush. No shield. Hit the tech for 4. So you really want to prevent them from getting a ton of value off this if we can. Looks like we might not be able to. Let's go ahead and attack Obi-Wan for 3. And let's see what they decide to do here. R2, huh? Okay, so they're smuggling out R2s. And that's a Vigilance. Okay, so Vigilance is a great draw. We get to kill the tech. Heal 5, I think is what we want to do. No, we want to defeat Mill, actually. So we want to mill here because this is actually going to come down to library size. So Vigilance is actually really solid. Kind of a fun matchup, not going to lie. It's pretty fun to watch. Now we have another Lom Pike if we want to. But I think we just want to go ahead and attack into their base for 3. And I'm really hoping that we're going to hit a big unit here. Let's see. Let's go Lom Pike. I put a Vigilance on bottom. So I can give an experience token over to Lom Pike. Do we hit a Vigilance? Nope, it's a takedown. They're going to hit Lom Pike. We're going to claim initiative. That's a client. We know that one of the Vigilance is on bottom. So we could start off by Covert Strength, healing up the Lom Pike, making it a 7-9. They could have another Rivals Fall. It looks like they have a Marauder. That's fine. And this is going to be pretty nice because we get to go ahead and attack. Give the Marauder a shield. Give the Lom Pike a shield. And all we're trying to do is stay alive. That's all we're trying to do. They're going to kill a unit. That's fine. Let's go ahead and replay the client here. That's their 3rd Luke. So they're out of Lukes at this point. We are going to play a Vigilant Pursuit Craft. And we're going to claim initiative. That's a Maul, which looks pretty good as well. We get to attack Luke, give the Marauder a shield, give the Lom Pike a shield. I mean, they have a lot of damage on board, but the client is going to be able to allow us to heal up a little bit, which is going to be pretty nice. So we're going to bounty up the R2. And they have one card in their deck. So now we just have to survive is kind of how this is going to work. Rivals fall. Okay, so let's maul, kill R2, heal 5. Let's play a Childson as a 2/2 Sentinel. And we're going to claim initiative, and our opponent's going to have to draw and take some damage. They took 3 damage here. We have a client. Don't need to resource anything at this stage. But we get to go ahead and... What do we want to do here? I think we can covert strength. I don't know if we want to smuggle anything, actually. I think what we want to do is just attack their battlefield marine, because this guarantees kills them and prevents us from kind of getting close to death. Hit them for 2 with the client. And I mean, look at that. That is going to be the complete game where our opponent just drew their entire deck. What a game. That was an insane game. So normally this doesn't come down to kind of the mill outs, but our opponent, I mean, they are the Ray Green kind of grinded out value deck, and we're playing the smuggle deck. But you saw kind of, we had infinite options at any given point in the game. And I'm sure that there's so many different options I could have gone with that might have been better. But that's the value of playing this control deck, is that because of all these smuggle options, your smuggle cards are like, normally if you just play the normal smuggle cards, like playing a 3-mana 2/2 is like terrible. But playing a 3 resource 3/3 in space is actually decent. And that's what Hondo does, is it makes all these kind of mediocre cards in resource pile into realistic threats. And despite them going through literally 3 Rivals Falls, literally 3 Lukes, 3 Obi-Wans, a tech to make some value going, a Ewing reinforcement, and a home 1, and a redemption, we still beat all of that. Nice play, Super Laser Blast, and that Vigilance at the end there. I probably should have kept the other one on top as well to mill some more. But, I mean, that was an excellent situation. And we're on to the final game here. Into our next game, and this is an amazing hand against Tarkin Yellow. If I could choose my hand, it wouldn't get better than this. I might have exchanged this Snoke for Power of the Dark Side, but that's about it. I'm going to resource the Timely and the Covert Strength. Inferno 4 is an amazing card in this matchup, mainly because it just straight up kills... whoops. Well, that was a little bit of a misclick, but that's okay. We're going to keep bottom. I meant to resource the Covert Strength, but there's a good chance I would have gone ahead and and actually resource the Snoke a little bit later on. Overwhelming Barrage, Power the Dark Side, make an opening. Let's go ahead and resource this Covert Strength. So here, I could Power the Dark Side, or I could make an opening. I'm going to go ahead and just make an opening. This might seem a little bit strange, because it's one of the cards that we deal with TIE Phantom, but they can't follow up with TIE Phantom because I have an Inferno 4 in play. So here, they're going to Triple Dark Raid, as it's the only option that they really have. And we're just going to attack their base for 2. And they could kill the Inferno 4, because they might have the... They might have the TIE Phantom, and there's a good chance that they do because of the way they've played this. But that's okay. That is totally fine. Here, I'm going to go ahead and resource, well, a Power of the Dark Side. And this might seem strange because I didn't resource the Collection Starhopper. But if they play a TIE Phantom, which is exactly what I'm thinking that they're preparing for, based on how they've played these turns, my guess is that they have some sort of TIE Phantom, and they're trying to play around that. It looks like that's not the case, but if they did, I would have been able to timely out a Collection Starhopper and actually be able to kill it, which would have been pretty nice. Unfortunately here, we don't really have that many great options. I think I'll just resource a top target. And I think I'm just going to get down a... Do I want to pass here? I feel like passing is a little bit weak. I'm just going to get down a client. We're running out of options, unfortunately. But let's just go ahead and play a Collection Starhopper. Right now, it'll trade with a TIE Fighter, assuming they don't give it an experience and then attack with Tarkin and then give it another experience. But if they do that, then we can kill their Incinerator Trooper with our client. So that's pretty nice. We could also wipe the board with a client Overwhelming Barrage. Let's see what they decide to attack here. Okay, they're going to hit the client. A little bit surprised about that. Are they going to kill the Collection Starhopper? I'm kind of curious. If they do, then that's going to be pretty advantageous for us. Oh, they're going to swoop down. Oh, okay, okay. Kind of interesting, to be honest. So here I can Overwhelming Barrage and hit... Well, they could have their own Overwhelming Barrage. So I think I just want to hit... I think I'm going to Overwhelming Barrage, and I'm going to kill the Incinerator Trooper and deal 2 to the TIE Fighter. And now if they want to keep their TIE Fighter, they're going to have to Overwhelming Barrage because TIE Advance doesn't do it. They could have a Waylay, I suppose, but none of that stuff really does it. And then we have a flip of the Hondo, which would be pretty nice. Now, I could have flipped Hondo and then Overwhelming Barrage, but this kind of puts us in a way better spot. And it looks like, well, they're going to play their own Overwhelming Barrage, which is honestly extremely weak. So I'm not really worried about that because they're just killing a Collection Starhopper to protect their TIE Fighter. So we are in an amazing, amazing spot at this point. They're going to hit Hondo. Sure, we're going to hit their base for 4. And we're going to claim initiative. And now we've drawn ourselves the Client and Inferno 4. Client's pretty bad in this spot. I am literally just going to play a Maul. Ambush. Hit them. Get the unit down because I can always kill the TIE Fighter, at least at the current moment. And besides, we are outpacing them. Okay, they're going to swoop down again. But that's going to trade, and that's pretty weak for our opponent. They play a TIE Phantom. We're going to claim initiative, and we can actually timely out our Inferno 4, which looks really, really good here, actually. And we're going to do exactly that. So let's go timely, Inferno 4. Give the Hondo an experience. We will put this on bottom, that on bottom. Ambush, kill the TIE Phantom. We also have a Power of the Dark Side to follow up whatever they got. Let's see if they decide to draw a card or if they decide to heal. Let's go Power of the Dark Side, kill their Reinforcement Walker. They discarded the Piet. We're going to hit for 5 and then pass. And now we are starting to really put the power in our hands here. I think I want to keep our Resource of Collection Starhopper because I think I'll play that this turn. Let's go ahead and Hondo attack for 5. We're going to Collection Starhopper, Inferno 4. We're going to Covert Strength. Covert Strength. Just make a massive Inferno 4 and then pass. I was going to say the only way that Tarkin usually has a way to deal with Inferno 4 is Traitorous or Waylay, and those things don't allow them to win the game. So getting in as much damage as we can at this stage in the game is going to really be conducive to a win. They don't really have a way to mass bounce or mass heal or anything like that. Like they have Reinforcement Walker, which could do some work. If they had like Time Intervention, they could timely out the Reinforcement Walker and kill the Hondo, heal 6, but we just kill them. It's pretty sweet. Opponent says, is this the George Hudson deck? And it absolutely is. As the player that played Hondo Blue in the recent Gen Con, we are literally just copying the list, and we have been on a streak with the deck, finishing it off, and it was not really close in this matchup either. We had an ideal hand, of course, right? We had the Inferno 4, we had the Make an Opening, we drew into a Power of the Dark Side, which is what I said I would kind of craft my hand around. It just everything worked out for us. Like every single thing worked out for us, and it wasn't really close. Like this was a really, really easy matchup because we had the Make an Opening and the Inferno 4. They said, good choice. GG's, tell YouTube George. Made it work really well. And absolutely, in our final thoughts, we're going to be going over the deck. And this was awesome. I've been playing it over the past few days, and my goodness, has it really overperformed on what I realistically expected. So let's talk about my final thoughts overall in the last part of the video. So what have we learned with Hondo Blue? Well, first thing I want to mention is when Hondo Blue was playing in the tournament, they were playing in a best of 3 format. Now, that can be both advantageous and disadvantageous based on the matchup. I will say that usually things like, Super Laser Blast, Rivals Fall, Avenger, the stuff that we have in our sideboard right now are really particularly good against the more mid-rangey matchups. Like, you don't really care about Rivals Fall in the Sabine matchup. You don't really care about Super Laser Blast or Avenger in the Sabine matchup, for example. Vigilance is good in the Sabine matchup, and in the double yellow Boba matchup, like Overwhelming Barrage could be good in some cases. Fell the Dragon can take out things like that's Fire Spray. Vigilance can help you heal, so those cards are pretty good. I would say that this actually has a really good best of 1 rate against the meta decks. The decks that are really scary, of course, are the soft control decks and the mid-range decks, and that's where, things like Avenger, Super Laser Blast, Rivals Fall really come into play, and I think that's what they're really trying to sideboard for. If I'm wrong, then George Hudson can come into the comment section and say, you suck, you're wrong, but at least that's what I get the feeling of, because this deck is really exceptional against what the meta is trying to do. Right? We have the main deck answer to TIE Phantoms. We have a really nice kind of long game against the more grindy matchups, or even things that are trying to attack your hand. Ray Red is like completely negated by this deck because of all the smuggle options. Our smuggle options give us so many tools in the mid to late game. And even in some cases, the early game, as you saw from that first matchup against, Han Green, where they went, unit, and I went Pike Sentinel Covert Strength, and suddenly they can't do anything for 3 turns or whatever. This just shapes up so well against everything the meta is trying to do, and every single card in here seems to have a purpose. Even the Ruthless Assassin, which looks a little bit awkward, is really good in the cases where you don't have that many 2 resource plays. Things like Top Target came in handy where we were healing a ton. Things like Long Pike and the Collection Starhopper are exceptional smuggle options. I will say, guys, the most impressive card in this whole deck is Collection Starhopper. You saw in those games, just being able to play 2 power worth of space and then 1 power potentially on the space unit or something else is insane. And you saw it in this matchup. Like, if you go turn 1 Pike Sentinel, turn 2 Collection Starhopper, that's a really good curve. It protects your ground and it puts some pressure into space, which can deal with things like Silencer, TIE Fighters. There's just so many options that you have with this deck that you could put some major pressure on your opponent, and your opponent can't really just sit idly by and hit your base and ignore you, because you have so much options and so much pressure that you actually could just race people in some cases or outvalue them in the later cases. So excellent deck building kind of knowledge from George here, and really, really well put together. If I were to rate this deck just from my personal experience of playing a lot online and then playing against some other really great players, over at TTS, and of course my smaller sample size in paper, since it's so much harder to get paper Star Wars Unlimited games, I would definitely put this at like the lower end of A tier or high end of B tier. I would lean towards lower end of A tier. There are still a lot of things that we didn't necessarily immediately test. Like, we didn't test best of 3 matchup against Han Yellow, best of 3 matchup against Han Green, best of 3 matchup against Boba Yellow, best of 3 matchup against Sabine Green, best of 3 matchup against Sabine Yellow. Like, those are the meta decks, right? But in terms of, just seeing what this deck is capable of, I would be comfortable, loading this up into, a FNM or a weekly Star Wars tournament, or a going into a Gen Con tournament with this deck. I would feel reasonably confident that I actually have a good shot at taking the tournament down because of how versatile this deck is. However, it is very tricky to play. I made a couple mistakes I know of that I explicitly mentioned, but also there are so many different lines of play because of all your smuggle options. There are some things that I'm sure that I did not play correctly, mainly because I tend to try to play a little bit faster for the videos. And if I sat down and really thought through every play, there might have been a more optimal version of whatever line I took. But because Covert Strength, Time Interventions, Star Hoppers, Long Pikes, Vigilant Pursuit Craft are all in the resource pile and can be smuggled out, well, on top of it, which card to resource? Should I be child sending? All this type of stuff you're doing normally in control decks, but in this deck it's amplified because not only do you have the cards that you have in hand, but also the cards in your resource pile, and then the cards that you determine which to resource and which to not also change the costs and the lanes of play in the future. So it is one of the most complicated decks that I personally have played, and it's one of the reasons why I ended up loading up a couple of games before this, because I wanted to just get familiar with some of the options and the costs and all that type of stuff. But if you want to go ahead and try this out, I would definitely recommend doing so. It's a really solid deck. It's also pretty budget friendly, I would say, for the most part. The Snokes and the Super Laser Blasts are really the high cost cards, and the Mauls, of course, in the main deck. But Mauls, Snokes, Super Laser Blast, like, is a really cheap control deck for being a control deck. It's where the sideboard comes in. That's where the deck becomes, Vigilance as well. But the sideboard makes the deck way more expensive. So maybe I should say budget friendly, but I guess a cheaper version of control is a better way to put it. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you all for a video soon.